On this edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, Nick and Stevie are still back in 1997, but this week they're getting extreme. We're gearing up for a fully loaded month of November by reviewing ECW's November to Remember 1997. As a part of the For Frequency Sake Podcast Network, you can subscribe for new episodes of Educated Ignorance, The Data Lab, and of course, the boys here at Card Subject to Change, and other great podcast content. Now, here are our two wrestling extremists, as the Wizard and the Honorable One.
Welcome to Card Subject to Change. Bully, how are you today?
Well, any day I can refer to myself as the third person is a good day. So we're starting it off right. But it's an absolute great day. We're talking about wrestling, and we're talking, of course, about November to Remember 97 here on the show today. CZ,
And
opening thoughts about this show. What do you think of starting the show off?
starting this show off, well, I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of exposure to ECW. It was not in my wheelhouse. I wasn't really a big extreme wrestling fan. But being back in 97 makes me feel good because, I'm young. I'm in my late teens, senior year of high school. I'm probably about 200 pounds lighter, which is always a good thing. But no, I was excited to look at this show because it is something that something that I don't hit often, you know.
Yes, going back here to 1997, it is November 30th of 97. We are in Monaca, Pennsylvania, which is, they tell us, right down the road from Philadelphia. We are in the Golden Dome. Crowd of 4,634 are in attendance. And you can tell it's the late 90s because Joey Styles opens the show in the ring with a late 90s really baggy suit. I mean, it would be an atrocity in today's fashion world.
I completely agree. I love that Joey Styles is in the ring giving us his intro in his ridiculous 90s attire. Before we really get into the show, let's talk about Joey Styles a little bit. Nick, how do you feel about a one-man commentary booth?
If it's Joey Styles, yes, but man, it's hard to replicate what he brought with the energy to ECW in '97. He had to be the over-the-top color guy, but he also had to be the rationale play-by-play guy as well. I love Joey Styles as a one-man guy. I don't think he gets enough love from wrestling fans, post ECW. And looking back on it, but man, I really think, him being a one-man crew was very influential and set a precedent for the Renegade brand of ECW. Yes, I know he had guest spots. I know Shane Douglas would call matches with him and whatnot when Shane Douglas was injured. But for the most part, it was a one-man booth with Joey Styles. I thought he did a fantastic job.
And I couldn't agree more. It's hard to pull off a one-man booth, and Joey Styles does it excellently. And this is a good example of that. He's got a lot of good lines throughout the match, or the card, I should say. He's manning the fort, and like I said, it's really hard to pull off a one-man commentary team. I tell you, back in my days when I was working with local companies, they had me do commentary on one show and I was by myself. And I made the biggest error in the world. I was talking while a wrestler was cutting a promo in the ring, not even thinking about it because I was young and stupid. But a lot of credit to Joey. It's hard to be the only commentator on a show.
It is, and I'm sure the product we finally see, the pay-per-views, was edited, but for the most part, Joey Styles is right on his game. Maybe not in the fashion world now, but with November to Remember, I really liked his call on most of the show. This is the 5th annual installment of the ECW November Spectacular. And Joey Styles tells us, as he welcomes us to the show, that this is the largest crowd in ECW history.
Yeah, I have that noted in my notes as well. We start the show off in really good fashion. We've got no gimmicks needed. Chris Candido, former WWE guy, WWF guy at the time, known as Skip of the Body Donnas, going up against Tommy Rogers. This was a decent match to start the show, in my opinion, Nick.
This was one of the better matches on the card, in my opinion. BZ, I'll tell you what. Tommy Rogers is one half of the Fantastics, who used to team with Bobby Fulton, and he's really a good wrestler. He's here later in his career. I'm sure most of the crowd maybe didn't know who he was, but he's an interesting fellow and a good wrestler. Style says on Candido, he's the most underrated wrestler of the day. He's not wrong. I think Candido, a lot of people miss on Candido because of the gimmick that he had in WWF. Of course, he was Sonny's boyfriend. Of course, she was cheating on him left and right. That does not take away from his in-ring abilities. And going back and watching some of this ECW stuff, he is one of the most underrated wrestlers possibly of all time. He's that good. And he's out there in the first match. He's well respected by all the guys. He's in there with a veteran, so you know you're going to get a good match. Okay, Rogers and Candido. Would you both agree they're in pretty good shape?
Oh, I would say so. Yeah, they're in really good shape.
They're in pretty good shape. I mean, yep. Okay, it's 97. They're both in great shape. Why are they wearing the fat guy trunks that you and I would wear?
That's a fantastic question. I don't have a good answer for that because yeah, they're in really good ring shape. They should be wearing the tights, not the trunks.
Yeah, they're in great shape, and they got the fat boy trunks on. That's what I'd be wearing. But the bigger thing here, and this bothers me the whole show. And I feel bad for referee John Finnegan because he's going to be the first target. But I need your help here. Referee John Finnegan is either going to or he's off of his shift at Pep Boys, right? What is up with those referee shirts?
Oh my God!
He's either working. He's either working at Pep Boys. He's either working at Pep Boys or he's an ID checker at Vic Ferrari.
Maybe the latter, honestly, because yeah, that is a god awful referee outfit for sure.
Okay. We'll go with Vic Ferraris, and I mean what are they wearing? Those shirts are an atrocity. I mean, oh man. And you thought WCW post 2000 was bad. My goodness. But no, that shirt really took away. No, I'm just kidding. I knew you'd get a kick out of the Vic Ferraris line, but no, there's great ring exchanges here. Great ring exchanges. There's good counters. There's regular ring gear. This is a flashback to wrestling when moves were done for a reason. Okay, that's not to knock on the current product. This is to show you, man. Hey, these two veterans, and they're trying to tell a story. They're doing their stuff for a reason, and it's working. The crowd's invested. So I really appreciate that part about this match.
Oh, and I'm with you. The first thing that I have in my notes, though, the crowd is you start off with a handful of rest holds, essentially, and the crowd is just shitting on it. They are back chanting, boring, but it doesn't take long for the pace to change and the crowd to get into it.
Right. Those guys were making the crowd wait. I mean, ECW gets such a bad rap for the blood and the extreme, but you know what? They had a lot of good wrestling on their cards. They had a lot of craptacular wrestling, but they also had a lot of good wrestling. Okay, this is one of those good wrestling matches. Tommy Rogers caught me off guard here. He could be Bob Sparkplug, Holly's dad, or uncle at a glance, whatever you select. You can determine that there. But yeah, you're right. It didn't take long. At 10:34 of this show, we get our first holy crap moment, if you will, when Rogers suplexes Candido to the outside. It totally wakes up the crowd. Like you said, they were kind of asleep on the match, but man, they woke up and they didn't fall asleep after that.
And here's the thing with ECW. They have no padding outside of the ring. These boys are falling on hard concrete, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but the only thing covering that concrete is a plastic tarp, several plastic tarps taped together.
Yeah, it's like the beer tarp. You go to a concert on tarps. Yeah, they just pull it up after the show for easy cleanup. Yeah, they're either falling on bare concrete or beer tarps. There's no padding. And I made that note. Very limited padding at ringside is what I put. And limited was in all caps.
Yeah, and you got to think that the lack of padding, that's got to suck for anyone doing a dive outside the ring. But you've got to think that the reason those beer tarps are there is more for the blood than anything else that ECW is known for, not getting soaked into the hard concrete.
Yeah. Yeah, and among other bodily fluids, right?
Right. So eventually this match, Candido's part of the triple threat. You've got Lance Storm coming in. He's petitioning to be a part of the triple threat. He's going to interfere in the match, as is Jerry Lynn. And I have in my notes that at the end of the singles match, the ref is channeling his inner Teddy Long, and we're going to have a tag match, playa.
Well, yeah. playa. I also put in here, you said Lance Storm, but I think we fail if we don't mention it's a rat-tailed Lance Storm. Oh. So imagine Lance Storm with a bleach blonde rat tail. Yep, you're a 97, and that rat tail is flowing in the breeze.
Oh my!
He takes out Rogers. Jerry Lynn comes in and saves Rogers. Lynn and Storms, Rogers, they all fly. Easy dub. And then I got Peeping Tom from Pep Boys finally grows a set and makes this a tag match. He did no refereeing for the first part of this match till now. Must have been, he's tired. He just got off his shift at Vic Ferrari's or Pet Boys, wherever the hell that Peeping Tom lives. Anyways, he got off his shift. He grows a set. And the opening singles match, CZ, is now a tag match with Candido and Storm versus Rogers and Lynn.
Yeah, and, you mentioned the ref, not really reffing the match. That's going to be a common trend, in my opinion, throughout the night because, yes, this is ECW, but a lot of things get let go in the matches that are not necessarily billed as extreme matches.
It's extreme. I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, this tag match was really probably the perfect ending to the singles match. It puts a bow on it and wraps it up. As soon as Storm appears, Stop lets us know he's been wrestling for the War promotion in Japan. Hey, that's good to know. Not a lot of people know that. I didn't, that's a good thing to throw out there, Styles. I appreciate that. Candido and Storm are in control. They're not on the same page, but we get a freaking blonde bombshell out of nowhere, and I love that move.
Yeah, it's a great move for sure. That top rope power bomb, just you don't see something like that very often, especially in today's wrestling. You got to think that's that like companies like the WWE wouldn't want something like that on their television just because of how dangerous it has the potential to be. But at the same time,
Correct.
It's a power bomb. You see power bombs left and right in current wrestling, just not from the top rope.
No, and you don't. And And the blonde bombshell was a hell of a move. And then I have Rogers spikes Storm. I mean, that was a freaking pile driver. The match ends when Candido hits the Northern Lights suplex with a bridge for a 1-2-3. If you want to say the first match was a no contest, that no contest ended at 13-20 when the Vic Ferrari's ID guy made a tag match. And then the tag match ended at 3:23 with Candido and Storm winning. I have an interesting note here. I don't know if you noticed this or not. Candido, after the match, holds up a sign that says, Candido, showstopper. Kind of like that. I think that's a dig at Shawn Michaels for HBK running around with Sonny. So Candido was the showstopper. No gimmicks needed, but, man, he came out here and put on an absolute barn burner of an opening match.
Oh, I agree. This was a great way to open the show. And as we've said before, the opening match is what sets the pace for the show. Maybe later on we'll get there. The pace kind of went dead. But like you said, this is a great opener. Candido showed his chops here. Tommy Rogers showed his chops. Well-placed opening match. Evolving into that tag match overall was just fantastic.
It was. I loved how it ended. And, looking back on it now, we're going to segue into our next match. And that's Mikey Whipwreck versus Justin Credible. But before that, this is good production on ECW's part, I thought. They show Whipwreck pinning and beating a known wrestler who was Steve Austin. And then they show Credible pinning and beating a known wrestler who was the Great Sasuke. So they show that, hey, we got some they're building up their guys. They're showing wins over known people. Makes you want to watch this match. And as they're introducing Mikey Whipwreck, he's the first Triple Crown champion in ECW history. That slipped my mind. I knew he was a world champion and tag champion. Forgot that he was the TV champ, I guess. So he's a Triple Crown champion. He's coming to the ring, and Justin Credible is coming in with Jason. I believe Jason is billed as God's gift to women or whatever, God's gift or whatnot. So I had totally forgot that about Mikey Whipwreck. Kind of the underdog, if you will, in ECW. He would tag with Cactus Jack, but that's who he reminds me of. Mikey Whipwreck is a Cactus Jack, Mick Foley figure. He's kind of that figure for ECW.
Yeah, I can agree with that. He definitely has that vibe and that feel to him. And, these two start the match basically fighting outside the ring, which, I have noted that Whipwreck is in control of the beginning and hits a DDT on Credible outside the ring on that hard concrete.
Yes, there was some pre-match altercations outside. The first thing I wrote down is I love the Aldo Montoya chants. If you didn't know, Aldo Montoya was a low mid-card wrestler in WWF. That was Justin Credible with a mask. Aldo Montoya, the Portuguese man of war. Aldo Montoya chant broke out, followed up with just an a-hole chant. So the ECW crowd, one of the smarter crowds, knew what was going on and definitely jumped on that chant right away. Thought that was funny. My question I have for you, I got this circled. Question for CZ, or my observation, and I want you to go with it or run with it. Take your take on it. I think Justin Credible could have been the best member of DX that number was.
Yes, I can agree with that. I mean, he does have a loose connection with DX, being partnered with X-Pac in the WWE under X Factor, but he could have been a great member of DX. That is a very valid point. I would love to go back and see what that would look like if we inserted him in with Hunter, with X Pac and the boys, and Triple and Shawn Michaels, all that. That'd be a
I
fantastic
really,
story to.
we got teased with it with X Factor, but I think Credible would have blended in well with them. I like his wrestling style. One of the guys that I kind of didn't really care for much when ECW was going on, but now I kind of go back and watch his matches, and I thought he was really good. I enjoy his work going back and watching it now. But outside of the DX thing, I have Mikey Whipwreck hitting the whippersnapper on Credible. And Whipwreck will get the 1-2-3. He gets the clean win at 7:15. This is billed as an upset by Styles. Not sure if it was, but I mean, Bill was an upset. But Mikey Whipwreck, the Triple Crown winner. I mean, he's a former 3-time champion. I mean, he's not some schlub. But I don't know. I had billed as an upset question mark. I didn't think it was an upset, but
I wouldn't
for
have called it an
storyline's sake,
upset.
Joey Styles did. Right.
Yeah,
no,
I
I
would
didn't
not
think
have called
it
it
was.
an
I
upset at
didn't
all.
think it was.
So after this match, we have a little fun, and Joey Styles tells us that Al Snow is in the locker room getting head. So we go back to Al Snow.
Yeah, Al Snow, I'm on a PPV doing a JOB.
You gotta love Al Snow, right?
Blue Meanie changing in the background. Okay, so we get that. We get Nova applying his face paint. Head there by default. Spike Dudley's changing. There was another wrestler there I couldn't identify because the camera wasn't on him long enough. But Al Snow is just cutting a promo on Head. He's cutting a promo on anybody in the locker room and listen. But I died laughing when I'm here at the PPV doing a JOB. I thought that was I laughed really hard at that line. It was clever. It was Al Snow, and if you lived it, you had your job squad in WWF. So I thought it was funny. I really did.
And I love the nod to WWF. He's wearing the Job Squad T-shirt while he's ranting to Head about how he's the star and he's who got Head over, not the other way around.
Correct. Absolutely. And Head, always tight-lipped, and in doing so, it just makes Al Snow even crazier. And yeah, Al Snow was getting Head in the locker room. That's for sure. DZ, we're up against it here. We need to take probably a quick break. And
yeah, let's
we'll shout out to our podcast.
Let's
do a shout out to our podcast brethren, and we're going to pick right back up where we left off.
Make sure you tune into For Frequency's Sake on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch each Sunday during the football season from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. The boys from For Fantasy's Sake will be bringing the fire fantasy football takes, updating you on the week's rankings and injuries, and getting you ready for your fantasy football matchups each and every week. The show is interactive, so be sure to send your questions. You can find them at For Frequency's Sake on Facebook, at FFSQC on Twitter, or you can send them an email at forfantasysakeqc@gmail.com.
Hey, welcome back here to Cards Subject to Change podcast. I am the honorable one, Nick Bull. I love talking to myself in the third person. My tag team partner is the Wizard CZ, and we're still stuck in 1997. We are stuck in the midst of this November to Remember card put on by Extreme Championship Wrestling. And now we're at the point of the show. We're supposed to go to a video package for Sabu and Sandman for Joey Styles, but we go directly to the ring for our next match.
And I have in my notes, Nick, I got to wonder if the Sandman Sabu video was supposed to be closer to their match, and they edited things before it hit pay-per-view. Was this live on pay-per-view, or was it pre-recorded and edited before it went to the masses?
I think it's the latter, but I can't 100%. I can't 100% comment. I don't know, but that probably was the most cost-effective way, right? Was probably how they did it. They shot it live and went back and edited what they needed to edit, right? So
That'd be my guess.
That being said, we come to this point. We have our match, and we have our next match. If you're keeping score at home, it'd be match 5. I know it's match 4, is it not? Match 4?
Yes, match 4.
Yes, match 4. It is the ECW World Television Champion, Taz, the Human Suplex Machine. He is taking on Pitbull number 2, and Pitbull number 2 is in the ring with Pitbull number 1, Brackus, and Lance Wright. And this is the first part of the show that we get an appearance in the one-man booth with Joey Styles. Paul Heyman appears on commentary, and Heyman's obviously out here to further a story. Paul and Dangerously, yep. By habit, I put down Paul Heyman. I'm sorry.
No.
He's out here, obviously.
As Heyman too, but yeah, Joey, and
he's out here.
Just to kind of throw into, Paulie Dangerously being out there, he gives Joey Styles a bunch of crap for calling him Paulie Dangerously.
Oh, that's what I'm referred to now? Yeah, that was kind of an underhanded remark, but I love it. He's out here. Paul Heyman, Paul, whatever you want to call him, is out here for a reason, and he's furthering the storyline with one of the biggest rivalries or soon-to-be rivalries in ECW, and that's Taz and Sabu. Out here now, Joey Styles is filling us in that Taz made his first pay-per-view appearance at Barely Legal 97 when he took on Sabu. He beat Sabu in that match. And now he's talking about that. Styles is telling us, and I have another note here for Styles. He's the Empire State Amateur Wrestling Champion. He has a discipline in judo. I love all this background match. I love it. Heyman's out here predicting a very long battle between these two behemoths. I think Pitbull number 2 is 275, and Taz's build is 248. Taz was much more round at this time. He was bigger, carried more weight when he wrestled in ECW. Heyman predicts this will be a long battle, which I laughed at that.
I think he's
out here obviously furthering a storyline. When he said this is gonna be a long battle, I did laugh rather hard at that.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but I think Heyman is predicting this to be a hoss fight.
It's a hoss fight. And it could have been a hoss fight. And for the most part, it was a hoss fight. Pitbull number 2 dominates most of this match. When I say dominates most of this match ends at 139, and he probably dominated for 124 of it. Heyman predicts a long battle, but then we get the vaunted belly-to-belly Tazplex followed up by a T-bone Tazplex. I loved going back, or when I first got into ECW, hearing Styles throw Taz's name into every possible move. The belly Tazplex, the T-bone Tazplex, and then it's the Kaja Hajime or the Taz Mission. He makes Pitbull number 2 tap at 139. Pitbull number 1 runs in, only to get pump-handled Tazplexed.
He gets a pump-handled Tazplex for his troubles.
A pump-handled Tazplex. And then he is yelled out by Joey Styles as the best wrestler on TV today. Obviously, a shot at WCW and WWF, and I loved it. Lance Wright, I don't know who he is. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know who every wrestler is and whatnot. But, man, he gets roasted. Gets roasted. I don't know if we should repeat the line on here that Taz says to Lance Wright. It made me laugh. I don't know if you wrote it down or not. I don't know if we should say it or not.
I don't.
We're going to err on the side of caution here. Yo, you want me to say it?
I say do it. I say balls to the wall because I don't have it in my notes. I remember what you're talking about, though. Just rip the Band-Aid off and put it out there.
When you say balls to the wall, there's no pun intended here, but he shouts at Lance Wright, you know, you're cum drunk to punch drunk. Then he takes out the security. I mean, Taz was livid on the mic, and I about pissed myself with laughter when he said, Lance Wright, you get in this ring, you're going to go from cum drunk to punch drunk. Oh, my God. I lost it.
Yeah, what a line from Taz. That I remember him saying that. I didn't have it in my notes, but yeah, I was cracking up a bit when he said that too. Following this match, you know, we go back to some other footage. This time we're showing Bam Bam Bigelow showcasing his absolute dominance over everyone. The first thing you see is Bam Bam taking Spike Dudley, throwing him over the ropes into the crowd, and then Spike goes crowd surfing.
Yeah, yes. Bam Bam throws Spike, and then he's passed around like it's show and tell. And it's one of the more iconic when you look back at video highlights of EC, because anywhere else he might fall on the ground, but ECW was so diehard it didn't matter. They were going to hold him up, and he's kind of carried around like he's a martyr, you know, for the people. So it's always a lasting visual. And after that visual, we get the video package showing Bam Bam Bigelow beating the franchise Shane Douglas for the ECW heavyweight title. Also promoting the match. That's the main event later on in the night.
Yeah, absolutely. And that happened only a handful of months before this event, where Bam Bam beat Douglas for the title.
Yep, handful of months. This will be the return match. Douglas's rematch in the main event here. And now we probably get to the point of the show. I know the Wizard was very excited when watching this match and texting to me about it. And trust me, it's a very exciting, it's fun match. If you like pure chaos, if you like jokes that end up, if you like pure unadulterated violence, headshots, ECW insanity, you need to watch the Fatal 4-Way Tag title match from November to Remember 1997. The match is your current champions, the FBI, the full-blooded Italians, Tracy Smothers, who I don't think had 1 ounce of Italian blood in them, and Little Guido. They are the current champs, and they're with Tommy. And they're with legendary Wildfire Tommy Rich. They are taking on the Dudley Boys. Dudley Boys are accompanied by Big Dick Dudley, Sign Guy Dudley, and the quintessential Joel Gertner, which, by the way, Joel Gertner is a good follow on Twitter. And I think his promos, I have a note here, may have been MJF before MJF with the raunchiness. Hardcore chair swinging Freaks. What a lame name for a tag team. I liked what they went with later. Balls of Mahoney. Balls Rotten, Axel Mahoney. No, Axel. Nah, I don't know. Yeah. Hardcore chair swinging Freaks. Axel Rotten, Balls Mahoney. There we go. And they're taking on the New Gangsta Natives. That's right. The New Gangsta Natives is a hybrid tag team. It's featuring New Jack and Cronus of the Eliminators, and they're taking part in this match to get their hands on the gold from the FBI.
That's what everybody's goal is in this match. And, one of the first things that I have noted here on my end, I'm going to tell you a little story. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. So, for those of you who don't know my current job, I'm a photographer for church directories. I go to different churches around the area here, and I take photos of families. I started watching this match at the hotel I was staying at the night before. It was Tuesday night, or this show. I got to this match. I stopped it. I was getting tired. We had a 2-hour break where we weren't photographing anybody. And I turned the show on at this match, and I immediately turned it off because I felt uncomfortable watching Joel Gertner give every dick and sex joke that he could while sitting in a church. I couldn't watch it in a church.
Did your hair start to stand up? Was lightning going to strike down?
I
Yeah,
was
you
worried
probably
about
did
that.
you probably did the right thing. You did the right thing because Joel Gertner would have been canceled long before cancel culture. Oh my goodness.
His promo definitely did not age well. Most of this show honestly didn't age well, but you also got to look at the fact that we're talking about Extreme Championship Wrestling in the 90s. So you've got to factor in that this probably isn't going to age well no matter how you look at it. But this match,
And look at it this way. CZ, I'm going to say one thing to that point. It doesn't age well, but at the same time, this wasn't on broadcast television. Okay, they had pay-per-view. You might have been able to see their TV show on satellite. Otherwise, you got their shows on VHS from their merchandise catalog. So it wasn't like this. This wasn't broadcast everywhere, but it still doesn't condone it. But it wasn't on broadcast TV. Not yet.
No, they weren't quite there yet. The first thing that I
But hey,
texted you
as an adult who pays his bills, you made the right decision not watching this match at church.
No, I couldn't agree more. I turned this on. He started talking like he was, and I'm like, nope, can't watch that at work. But what I could do when I did get to watching it is the first thing that I texted you, I think the only thing during my initial run through of this show, I texted you, oh my God, this tag match is utter chaos. And it was.
Yeah, it was. I don't know how really to do. I don't think they keep track of the legal man in ECW. I'm pretty sure they don't. I quit keeping track of it. But
this match, though, there was no legal man. This is an elimination tag match. Joey Styles refers to it as a Texas Tornado match. And you've only got 3 teams in the ring when this match starts, and it's already chaotic. The next thing in my notes is when the Gangstonators come out, their music plays, and the music doesn't stop playing. It's going on throughout the entire match. And spoiler alert,
it is so badass.
Spoiler alert.
The gangsters, the Gangstonators, that's one funny thing. The music continues the whole match. It adds to the allure and really covers up that there's no wrestling and it's just all hardcore stuff. But New Jack had his place in ECW, and definitely I always love going back and hearing what crappy, cheap rap remix we're going to get. And it's like cop sirens going off and the same beat over and over again. It's so bad, it's good. Go back and listen to
it. And, throughout this match, the Gangstonators music, like I said, it plays throughout the match until they get eliminated. Unfortunately, they were the first team knocked out of the match. But you've got
they were the last team there and the first team gone.
They 100% were. What I love, you've got every weapon imaginable, including And Joey Styles points this out that it may be a federal offense. Someone is using a mailbox to clobber people in this match.
You're right, he did say that. Hey, you don't mess around with people's mailboxes and people's mail. Joey Styles was a lion. That is a federal offense. Do not mess around, screw around with mail or mailboxes. That's your PSA here today from the Card Subject Change podcast.
You've been listening to Card Subject to Change. Next week, we talk about, never mind, not going to go there. Back to the match. No more life lessons on this podcast.
The more
okay?
you know. This is like the NBC thing. The more you know.
If we had video going right
back
now,
to the broadcast.
I would have a star animation.
That's the image I had in my head when I was saying that. But what was your favorite moment from this match? What was your favorite moment from this match?
Oh, that is so hard to say because there were so many good moments here. Honestly, I love Joey Styles' call on this match, particularly around the time Big Dick Dudley comes in the ring, because just like Joel Gertner, Joey Styles is, he's the first thing he says is Big Dick Dudley is penetrating the match, and then it's every dick joke possible after that.
Oh, I know.
Joey Styles even points himself out. How many dick jokes can I make in this match?
And it was 1997. Nobody said anything, and everybody laughed. But yeah, it wouldn't fly today. I have a note here. I was genuinely concerned about Tommy Rich. I thought he was going to die from loss of blood in this match. He's the manager of FBI, dude. He bladed so bad. Every time you've seen him, like the green, the Italian green shirt of the FBI's was just darker and darker. And go back and look. I was genuinely concerned about Tommy Rich and him bleeding out this match.
Oh, no doubt. That is a scary sight there. Just covered in blood. You gotta watch if you're gonna blade. You gotta watch yourself. But that's frowned upon today. We don't see that in most wrestling venues here. So I'm glad he made it out of the match in the arena safely. But that was just a frightening sight right there. Just the blood pouring down all over him.
Yeah, it was a frightening sight. FBI, if you care to know, they retain their belt. This was a crazy four-way dance. 14:32. You got 8 guys involved in the card. This was a very good match. I thought it was the best match on the card action-wise, and then the opener was the second best match that we have seen thus far. Okay, we're 2/3 of the way through the pay-per-view. And we're going to get to that. We got 3 matches left to discuss. But we're up against it here. We're going to take another break, and then we'll be back to finalize this November to Remember 97.
In addition to bringing fire on the mic, the team at 4Frequency's Sake is still bringing it online as well. Check out 4FantasySakeQC.com this season for college DFS, Survivor League, and betting advice each and every week of this football season. Again, that is 4FantasySakeQC.com for college DFS, Survivor League, and betting advice each week during the football season.
Thank you. Back here on the For Frequency's Sake Network. This is the Card Subject to Change podcast. Along with the Wizard CZ, I am your host, co-host, the Honorable Nick Bull. Yeah, the third person thing. Maybe the third person thing should be a rule on the show just for the intro, right?
Right. I can agree with that. And we can have a lot of fun with that because, it's like we're It's like we're going back to the 90s again, and we're smelling what The Rock is cooking, because he was always in third person. That'll be our tribute to Dwayne The Rock Johnson by speaking in third person at the beginning of each of our shows.
That'll be our lasting tribute to him. We left off talking about the four-way match. We had wrapped it up with FBI retaining over the Dudleys.
That could have ended the night right there, in my opinion. That match could have just
What I want to say is after that four-way match, it's the best match on the card. Let's end the show because I'm going to list off the names that are still involved. Okay, and then I'm going to list off what's my beef with it. Okay, we've got a match coming. We got matches involving Rob Van Dam and Tommy Dreamer, two ECW legends, agreed. We got another match with two ECW legends, Sabu and Sandman. And the main event is the title match. It's Shane Douglas trying to get his title back from Bam Bam Bigelow. All three of these matches look and sound amazing on paper. But, man, I was severely underwhelmed with this show. Yes. I was severely underwhelmed with this show after that four-way tag. Was it hangover from that match? Possibly. But going back and watching it a few times, just the end of this card didn't deliver. I think maybe the crowd was too tired. And there were so many missed, botched spots in Sabu and Sandman. I'm going to tell you guys another PSA. Don't even go back and watch this match. It's not that good. Sabu and Sandman, it's not that good. If you're going to watch the three, I don't know. What do you think? I don't want to tell any of our listeners to watch the last three matches of this card. I would stop it after the tag match, and you'll be happy.
I'll give you my 2 cents here. You've got the 6 great names, 6 ECW legends closing out the show, but I'll touch on, Sandman and Sabu. If your thing is watching a couple of grown men sloppily hit each other and throw ladders at each other and go through tables, sure, go back and watch it. But this was terrible for those two competitors in a hardcore match like this in ECW. I'm going to just say it. That tables and ladders match between Sabu and the Sandman was the worst match on the card.
Oh, yeah, I fully agree. I fall in line with you there. I agree with you there.
It was sloppy. It was not well put together, and those two just were not hitting on all cylinders like they should have been. Tommy Dreamer versus Rob Van Dam, which happened before Sabu and Sandman, it was an all right match. It went about 16 minutes, which wasn't too long for the match itself. The only thing that I really have noted is you've got the WWF Senior Vice President of Extreme Affairs, Bill Alfonso, accompanying Rob Van Dam. I thought that was fun to point out.
I did. Oh, I did chuckle out loud at that one. I didn't write it down, but I'm like, you know what? That is about as cheesy as it gets, and I love it.
But, I mean, the names that are in the matches, you also see Stevie Richards, Doug Furness, and Phil LaFons come down and help Rob Van Dam out at the end of the match. It ends in a no contest, so the whole stipulation of that match was whoever won got to raise their company's flag in victory, which Rob Van Dam was going to WWF at the time. So he would have been raising that WWF banner. And to just have it end in a no contest, it just... And I think the other thing was the fact that it followed that magnificent tag match. The air was just sucked right out of the arena after that tag match. The crowd was dead. The show was dead. We could have ended it right there at the tag title match, and this would have been a great pay-per-view.
But instead, there's 45 more minutes of action after this. You're right. I mean, okay, maybe I'm being a little sour on the show. You could have ended the show after Van Dam Dreamer. I'll let you put that on them. But the last two matches just don't hold up. Sabu Sandman, it's just not good unless, like you said, you like watching two guys just hit each other and miss most of the time. It just wasn't it just wasn't a good match in my opinion. Now, the Van Dam and Dreamer, it told a story, it continued things. If you'll notice at the end of the match, Tommy Dreamer is positioning himself over his wife, Beulah, who is prone, and she is laying face down on the mat. He is laying on top of her on the other end, and every time he gets hit, his head noticeably comes up, and he buries his head deeper between her legs every time he gets hit. Go back and watch. It would definitely get canceled today. I'm not trying. You'll agree with me. It happens noticeably at least 5 times until Tommy's like, oh my gosh, then turns his head and gets his head out of her crotch. It's funny. Go back and watch. It's definitely worth it.
I didn't even catch that. I wasn't
And that's
paying
why
that close attention to
and that's
Tommy
why
at the
I would
end.
end the match. And that's why I would end the pay-per-view right there.
And, of course, then you get the main event for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. Bam Bam Bigelow defending against Shane Douglas in their return match. I'll be honest here, with the way this match went, Nick, it was Bam Bam Bigelow dominating throughout the match until the very end. Every time Shane Douglas got a little bit of offense, Bam Bam would shut him down for 25 minutes. This went on for 25 minutes. This should have been a squash match if you're just going to have Shane Douglas get his ass kicked the whole time. But, the surprise ending, Shane Douglas hits a belly-to-belly onto a couple of chairs and a table for the victory to earn his third ECW championship win. But the fact that we had to wait 25 minutes of watching Shane Douglas get his ass kicked to get to that point, it just didn't sit well with me.
Well, I think looking back on it now, you can say hindsight's always 20/20 there, CZ, but Bam Bam was a monster, and for him, for Shane Douglas to take him that long to put away, I guess, is maybe building a little ability for his third run, as you mentioned, because, we're going to go on, this will be the franchise's third title reign, and he's going to hold it for over a year. So maybe they wanted this as his wink, wink, nod, nod, asterisk, 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 flag match where people go back, oh, the win over Bam Bam Bigelow that started the title reign. I'm wondering if, a match like that was something that he had drawn up, that Paulie drawn up. Regardless, he holds the belt. At the end of the show, he's holding this belt. This is November 97. He holds it till January 99. It's a long reign for the franchise after taking the belt off of Bam Bam.
And, the only other thing I want to point out about this match, Douglas comes out with Francine, and what really struck me as odd, Francine is coming out in crutches. She's got a fractured foot. But, Nick, if you were a woman, would you walk in crutches while wearing high heels?
Oh man, I
had trouble suspending disbelief.
I just had the image. I just had the image of you in high heels running. So that's what I'm laughing about.
You okay. You got me to do the Alex Wright
No.
thing. That will never happen. No.
I'll give Francine props, man. She is not. No, I love the part that she's into it with the character. Props to her, but god dang, no, I would not be doing crutches and high heels. No way.
Yeah, that just, like I said, I had trouble suspending disbelief that that a grown woman is going to wear high heels while she's walking on crutches with a broken or a fractured foot. No way, no how.
Hey, it's showtime. It's showtime, and she's out there for a reason. So, yeah, if you can get over the visual of being in high heels, yeah, it's. I didn't even notice that. Good spot on your part.
And Nick, you mentioned that it's showtime. We're going to end this show right there and talk. It is still showtime because you and I, we have a double shot Sunday. I'm excited for that. We are not done recording today. We are done recording for now. But in a couple of hours, we have another interview lined up with a former Black and Brave, the third Black and Brave graduate, JT Energy.
For this one, we've been playing, having this line up for a couple of weeks. It's finally going to happen, and yeah, we got a double shot weekend. We're going to be back in the studio later tonight with the one and the only JT Energy. I'm sure he's got plenty of stories to tell. I am looking forward to definitely listening to what he has to say, and also his viewpoint on being a wrestling fan. Obviously, if he's in wrestling, he's got to be a fan of somehow, and we're going to find out what JT Energy likes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for that. But as of right now, that, like I said, is going to wrap our review of ECW's November to Remember of 1997. Nick and I will be back in the studio in just a couple of hours with special guest JT Energy. We are going to embrace the mist, as he says. You can find us on social media. My partner, the Honorable One, he is at NickBull55. I am at the Wizard CZ. Find us on Twitter at CSTC Podcast, as well as on Facebook at Card Subject to Change Podcast. We look forward to joining you once again tonight as we record with JT Energy. But thank you for tuning in. Nick, take us out tonight.
Hey, to our listeners out there, reach out, make the hot tag. We love hearing from you. Double Shot Weekend. We're back in the studio tonight. Take care.